Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the latest episode of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Elyachar, the chief content producer and writer of jakestake.com, a pop culture entertainment news website. I am thrilled to welcome this Big Brother alumni from Big Brother 21. She has one veto and a trip to Hawaii in her name, and also has over 53,000 Twitter followers and 239,000 Instagram followers. She is also the host of the Conspire Away Bitches with Kat Dunn podcast. Please help me welcome Kathryn Dunn.
Jacob, that was such a good intro. I need that played every morning when I wake up, as my alarm.
Thank you so much. I'm truly happy because here's the thing, guys. Kathryn and I actually met during the Big Brother Post 21 meet and greet with Nicole, Nick, Tommy, and Christy in New York City.
Mm-hmm. I had blue hair.
And you and Jessica rocked it, and everyone in that room was shocked.
You know what? Wait, in my head, we were going to be so much more disguised. I thought that I was no one's going to recognize us. This is going to be amazing. And then we maybe went by 2 minutes with nobody recognizing us. So it was a little bit of a failed idea, but it was.
Alrighty. So it has been almost a year since you've been out of the Big Brother house. So how have you grown as a person since your time?
Gosh, I feel I tell this to everybody. I feel like Big Brother made me a better person. So being in the house is a pressure cooker, not only, of course, playing the game and having all the bitches conspiring against you, but, the different gameplay, and you have to be very strategic about literally everything that you do. But at the same time, there's also the whole, the live feeds and everyone watching your every move and the television edit. And not only, of course, season 21 was not that well received, but there's been a lot of people that, they've gone on Big Brother, and it's completely changed their life for the better or the worse, because just the access that people have had to them is nothing that anyone's ever gone through before. It's like the Truman Show. You're literally, so people are watching your every move. And
absolutely.
When you get out of the house, a lot of people deal with a lot of criticism because, they either say things that are not, they say things that either shouldn't have been said, or they're just dealing with different people from different walks of life that they're not used to, and they're held accountable for a lot of their words. A lot of house guests, I feel, shy away from that whole aspect, and they like to say the feeds don't see everything, or that's not who I am, the television edit was off, or whatever. But I've actually really welcomed all the criticism that I've gotten from Big Brother, or from the Big Brother Twitter sphere, even as hardcore as it is. And I've really tried to use everything I learned in the house, plus the criticism that I got when I got out of the house, to really become a better person. I've become more slow to anger. I've become more to think before I speak. I've also I think more about my consequences. Just little things that I don't think I would have ever been faced with unless I was in the Big Brother house with cameras on me 24/7. So I'm really thankful for that experience in that aspect, because I've learned so much about myself, and I feel like I've really become a better person for it. So yeah, my life is completely, but other than using it to better myself, it's also, of course, given me so many opportunities through just the world of social media alone. I've been able to meet people that I wouldn't have otherwise met. I've had, other work opportunities that I wouldn't have otherwise had. So yeah, it's been a great experience.
Awesome. And you have had and even though your season was not as well received, you still had some incredible memories from your time in the Big Brother house. Do you have any of them you would like to share?
Oh, it was the best. I know this sounds really intense. This sounds really dramatic, but it was truly one of the best experiences of my life. Oh, hold on. There's a truck outside. I live in Dallas. It's super loud. I feel New York, but
I get that. Believe me, I'm in Kansas City right now in my family home, and there's 5 different phones, And I don't know, either one of those five could go up at any moment. So I understand.
Hopefully the beeping sound ends soon, but if not, it'll add a little bit of flavor to the video.
Absolutely. And I think, and we're talking about the house, so I know you said it was intense, but you truly enjoyed your experience.
Oh, it was so much fun. Yeah. And I feel like there's some people that go into the house and they game 24/7. I wish I was one of those people. I wasn't. I wish I was. But I actually did, like, I mean, there's like my friendship with Jessica Milagros. That was like an actual like friendship that her and I had formed. It wasn't like we were talking gameplay the whole time. So yeah, so there was a lot of instances that even though I was playing the game the whole time, I was able to kind of relax and, meet new friends and just have a good time. But it's one of my favorite experiences of my life. I wouldn't have changed it for the world, except for I wish that maybe it would have been received a little bit better. That would have changed, but
I totally understand. So what have been some of the challenges that you faced throughout your career, and how have you overcome those obstacles?
Let's see. I'm trying to think of lately, because my career has spanned from so many different things. Being only 30 years old, I've done a lot since I've graduated from college. I danced for the Dallas Mavericks for 3 years. I also worked in sports broadcasting, then to work for a marketing agency, then, of course, going to Big Brother, now coming back and working for myself. I would say recently, probably the biggest challenge career-wise would be now that I am working for myself, and it's not that I have that established, back when I worked for a marketing agency, I always had a paycheck coming in. Like as long as I showed up at the office and clocked in and did work, I had a paycheck. Now that I work for myself and I work full-time as an influencer, also dabble in a little bit of freelance marketing, I don't have that luxury of knowing where my paycheck is coming at all times. So that is a struggle. That is a hustle that I have to do every single day. Entrepreneurs, they quit their full-time jobs so they can work for themselves, like even more than full-time. I mean, it's like around the clock. So I guess that would be a challenge, just always holding myself accountable, always trying to strive for the bigger picture, the next big thing. But I love the excitement of it. So it's a good challenge. And I think it helps me become a harder worker. And also, I say this often, my ultimate dream is that I want to someday open my own marketing agency. So everything that I'm learning now as an influencer, because the world is going in the way of influencer marketing, where traditional marketing is kind of going out the door, and we're all going in the way of more influencer marketing and new age marketing. So everything that I learn now as an influencer, I'm going to be implementing to my marketing agency in the long run. So it's all a learning experience, but it's a lot of fun and it's stressful, lots of late hours, especially when I'm juggling the live feeds.
Yeah, so I totally agree about the live feeds, but the thing is, I commend you for doing that, and that's an incredible goal. And I think that you're going to be able to have your own agency one day.
Yeah, I'm hoping in the next 5 years or so. I think realistically, definitely by the time I'm 40. But we'll see. As of right now, the influencer industry is so lucrative, even though people love to hate on it, that at the end of the day, there is money to be had. The money that businesses used to be pouring into billboards and commercials and things like that, they're now putting into influencers because people consume their content through social media. So there's a lot of money in it. And as long as I'm able to ride that wave, I'm going to ride it for as long as I can. But I'm also doing the necessary things to to be able to transfer that over to opening my own marketing agency. So excited for the future.
I have my fingers crossed for you.
Thank you. Same.
Alrighty, so during lockdown, I'm very impressed because during this lockdown where everybody's in lockdown, you went on Instagram Live, but with several incredible Big Brother alumni, and you got some lucrative big ones too, including Dan Giesling, right. Derek Levasseur, Big Brother Canada standout Jamar Lee, Rockstar, our mutual friend Paulie Calafiore, Tyler and Angela together, which is very rare, and a very high-profile conversation with Zach Rance. So what were some of the highlights from these Instagram lives, and who else would you like to speak with?
Gosh, but the whole Instagram live thing started as it was actually my friend's idea. My friend Jules, she works in marketing here in Dallas too, and she's huge on networking. And she was going live every night with somebody from like the Dallas, Dallas business, young professionals networking, whatever. So every night she was going live with someone, and she went live with me one night. And after I got off live with her, I was like, that was so much fun. Just sitting there, like, it was like an interview kind of thing, but it was also like shooting the shit. And people were so into it in the comments. And I was like, wow, like I should do that more often, but with Big Brother contestants, or, former house guests. So I totally ripped the idea off of her, but she knows. I also thought that quarantine was only going to be like 2 weeks long. I didn't realize we were going to be like 3 months later, still at it. So I, set up my guest list for the first 2 weeks. And it was really just people from my season, from season 21. And then of course, like Elena, other people that I'm close with. And then went through the first 2 weeks, and then everyone was loving it. And I was like, okay, well, that was fun. But then everyone was still, we're still in quarantine, and people, the whole live thing, it really put a smile on people's faces. I had people messaging me saying that they were like setting their alarm to like looking forward to my live every night. And it was something that was getting them through the stress and the anxiety of quarantine. So I really kind of had a responsibility here, making people smile. So I wanted to continue it, but I ran out of people that I could read that I knew from Big Brother. So I really just started sending messages, and I couldn't believe that I had, the people that you mentioned, like Dan Giesling, like the fact that he came on my Instagram live is wild. And then Derek Levasseur, who now me and him are actually good friends. We've kept in close touch. I also had Janelle Pierzina on, which I hate that I didn't even, I started screen recording them like halfway through. So then I was able to kind of document, well, not halfway, it was a little bit over halfway through. So I was able to document some of them on my YouTube channel. But I also had like Evil Dick. Actually, the Evil Dick one was funny because I got really drunk. Yeah, I was so nervous. I got so drunk.
I would be nervous too. Like the thing is, I actually interviewed Dan back in 2018, and that was a little nerve-wracking for me.
Oh yeah, every night it kind of became my thing though, and also the other thing. So I am not that heavy of a drinker at all, or I haven't been. But then on the Instagram lives, I'd like pour myself a glass of wine and we'd be having fun. It's like, like wine night. And it was, conversation was flowing, whatever. I've never drank as much wine as I have during quarantine. I don't know what happened to me. Like I was saving all my bottles because I thought it'd be funny to keep like all my bottles from quarantine. And it was like lining the like upper shelves of my kitchen. And I was like, oh my God. But I would get so nervous interviewing with these big names like Dan, Janelle, Evil Dick. And it was the people that I had. It was absolutely crazy that they, I guess, respected me as much to like be a guest on my Instagram live show. But I would get so nervous. So I'd have to drink wine. And then for Evil Dick, I was so nervous that I got drunk.
But here's the thing, you had the opportunity to talk with these people, and it's incredible. And I know that Zach, your one with Zach, I cannot. Big Brother Reddit continues to go wild with that.
Yeah, I know, that was insane. You know what though, by the way, someone screen recorded that before I did and put it on YouTube, and they have like 14,000 views, or no, maybe it's even more. Or maybe it's like 40,000 views. It's something crazy. And I was like, wow. Man. And yeah, they're running ads and stuff. And I'm like, this person is benefiting off my likeness, but whatever. Well, I'll let them know. But yeah, he said a lot of things that making me nervous because I was like, I hope CBS doesn't sue me.
Robin Cass did actually clap back at him on Twitter.
I actually didn't see that.
He said, I believe Robin said, I could be wrong, and I apologize to Robin Cass and to both Zach Rance as well.
Mama. Okay, wait, tell me what you said.
So basically Zach said, Robin said, don't bite the hand that feeds you, to Zach.
Oh, I love that.
Now, I could be wrong. And I apologize in advance.
I hope you're not, because that's some drama. That's some tea that I'm here for.
All right. Now, speaking of tea, we got to talk about Conspire Away bitches with Kat Dunn. So when did you get did the Instagram live lead you to the podcast?
It did, yeah. I'm not a podcast, I guess now I'm a podcaster technically. But I don't listen to podcasts. It's so weird because, okay, so I don't watch TV, yet I was on a TV show. And I don't listen to podcasts, and now I'm a podcast. Like I'm would I be like a walking oxymoron? Or I don't know, what would be the right word to explain it? But I just didn't really know that much about the industry. So I never really thought about doing a podcast. I'd been on because after you get off Big Brother, you make the podcast run, and my good friend, Jessica Nixon and Elena, they're two of my good friends. They live here in Dallas, and I hang out with them often, and they have their podcast. So I was familiar with it. But after I started doing my Instagram lives, and by the way, my Instagram lives started out every single night, which was like insane to keep up with. So then eventually I kind of cut it down. I was like, hey, let's do 5 days a week. And then I was like, hey, we're going to do 3 days a week. And then now I've completely, transferred it over to doing a podcast instead. And then also I've been spending a lot of time with Steve Carbone, aka Reality Steve, who has a podcast as well. So I've been hanging out with him, and he has, this whole little studio in his house. I was like, will you kind of teach me how to use the equipment, how to kind of, edit the audio levels, all like the stuff that kind of goes into that. So I had a good teacher. So I launched my podcast. It was really, the whole process was, sometimes you just have to, because you started your own. You kind of have to rip the Band-Aid off and just just do it.
Yes.
I had heard rumors that the Big Brother All-Star season was happening. And before that, I'd kind of dabbled in, I was like, okay, I got to get these graphics made. I'm intro made. I was kind of going through it slowly. But then when I heard that Big Brother was starting, and we didn't know when it was starting, we just, because I don't know if you I'm sure you do, you keep up with Reddit, and everyone was talking about the All-Star season's coming, but we don't know when they're getting sequestered, whatever. So it's kind of competing with this imaginary timeline, trying to launch it in time. I probably didn't sleep for 2 weeks straight trying to get everything in order, and I'm so proud of myself that I actually pulled it off. But it's been so well received. I'm so lucky, so blessed that the Big Brother community has embraced me as much as they have. It was top 3 on the iTunes after shows chart for the first week that it launched. Yeah, I was like, how the heck did that happen? But okay. Now, I'd have to double check, but the last time I checked, it was the second highest ranked Big Brother podcast after Rob Has a Podcast on Apple.
Wow.
I know. I keep on telling Rob that I'm coming for his brand as a joke, but then maybe maybe I really am. No, I'm kidding.
Here's the thing. Rob Cesternino, I always say this to everyone. He is the king when it comes to reality television, podcasting. He has done an incredible job. I consider him one of my top mentors and role models when it comes to podcasting. Mm-hmm. And to be as good one day, I hope to be as good as him. And I give everybody over there, Taryn, Melissa, Brent, everyone that works with Rob, so much credit with this season. Oh, yeah. They've done a phenomenal job with this, and they've been very big voices of sanity, because Big Brother, as you know, it has been a roller coaster ride.
Oh yeah. No, and they're such professionals. They have they always do, the recaps in the morning. They are they're the best of the best. There's no one that compares. But then also, Rob is such a nice person too. They have this new show on there.
The Slop, I remember.
Do what?
The Slop, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So I was on the first episode of The Slop, which, by the way, when he asked me to come on the show on Monday, I was like, oh yeah, I must be a professional. All of my studying has paid off. I am a professional. I am Karen. And then when I saw him advertising it, I was like, wait, this is the show called The Slop, where it says all of the nonsense in the Big Brother world. but it was so much fun. He's so nice. And then afterwards, I had asked him like a couple questions about like lighting, like just like podcast stuff, and he was so helpful. I was like, wow, that's really hard to come by. Someone in that industry that's not only so good at their craft, but is so like humble and nice that they're willing to help other people that are in the same industry but smaller than them. I don't know. I have a lot of respect for him.
Seriously, if there's a podcasting award for achievement, he should probably be in the Hall of Fame of podcasting right now. Right next to Joe Rogan, of course.
Yeah, he's like set at number 2 on Apple Podcasts. So I guess that's a pretty good. I think Joe Rogan is number 1, I think, on that chart that I don't know. But yeah, he's definitely good at what he does. So the Big Brother community is lucky to have him.
Absolutely. Same with Survivors as well.
See, I don't watch Survivor. So I need to get in on that.
Yeah, I just got back in. I got back in for Heroes versus Villains. I'm not Heroes versus Villains, but Survivors Winners at War.
Oh, is that where they had all the attorney winners coming in?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's
so
fun.
Seriously, I spoke with Rachel Riley earlier this month, and she would, and if there's a Big Brother Legends War, like I think near the end of she would be in for it, and I would probably reveal on my Instagram who I want in that war. So I want 24 people and the Celebrity Big Brother style.
Well, yeah, Rachel Riley would for sure be one. She's a legend. And so, by the way, okay, I know that pregnancy is a beautiful thing, so don't get me wrong, but I'm so mad that we were robbed of having Rachel Riley on our TV screens this year and
also I gotta say, we were robbed of seeing Danielle Reyes as well, and also Vanessa.
I know, pregnancy, man. Yeah, because Vanessa she has triplets now. Because she was pregnant with 1 and her partner was pregnant with 2 or something like that. Like insane. Motherhood is like a crazy thing.
And see Dan and Dr. Will, and then but here's the thing, I love characters. I would love to have seen you in. I would love to have seen you with Caitlyn, with Frankie Grande, with Eric Stein, with Matt Hoffman, with Pectacular, Jesse Goddard. It would have been
Mr. Pectacular. That's someone who I don't know. So actually, I want to get to know him better now that I've been going back and watching season 9, or not season 9. Was it? Yeah, season 9. 10. Oh, season 10. Season 9 was Adam.
Yeah, Adam. Yes. Yes, I believe Adam was.
That's why I was like, I've been kind of like in the Big Brother 9, Big Brother 10, because before that I was researching Big Brother 10 because I was trying to learn more about Keisha's game, and so Jesse was in that.
We were robbed of having Keisha in there. It was 1 week.
I know. You know what stinks though? By the way, okay, so when Keisha and Kevin were both on the block, I was open about, like, I was not emotionally attached to either of them. So I was going back and I was watching clips from season 10 and learning, more about her game. And she was such a firecracker, and she was a huge fan favorite. I was a little disappointed that she didn't kind of bring that same fire coming in right out the gate. But then again, it was week 1. So what the heck? Like, of course, like, she needed to lay low because I think she was a huge name coming in. But that week I became more emotionally attached to Kevin.
Especially with the story about starting his family.
Yes. So I became so emotionally attached to Kevin. I was like, okay, Kevin has to stay. Keisha has to go. Like, no questions about it. That's what has to happen. But then Kevin stays and just messes up the whole game. Gets in the corner.
Our friend's mind. I'm sorry, I'm going to be bluntly honest. He really messed up our friend, and it pisses me off.
It was so bad, but like, no, that whole thing was so frustrating, so infuriating watching the live feeds, and maybe it's just because it's like my first instance of being like that emotionally attached on the live feed.
Same with me.
But he I mean, I'm sure Kevin's a nice person, so this is no hate to him at all. Well, maybe it is, actually. I'm kidding. But his reads were off. He got Nicole's ear, and I just cannot help but think what would have happened if Kevin would have gone home that week and Keisha would have stayed. Like, the thing, like, because then she would
that alliance would have been.
Maybe Nicole probably still would be trusting Janelle and Kaser because Kevin wouldn't have gotten in her ear. Like, he has single-handedly blown up season 22 as we know it. So
yes,
which means he's probably gonna blow his way up and float to the end. I guess we stand a chaotic king, but
yeah, I agree. But it's definitely frustrating, and for me, and I know one that I wanted to ask you about this question. I know we'll get back to the podcast, but for me, someone that I'm very friendly with Nicole. Nicole, I've been very supportive of all of her stuff, and so it was very tough to see everybody in Twitter and Reddit come after her like that, especially with Janelle with Janelle saying what she's been saying about I'm not going to talk with her again and calling her meltdown and like saying that's someone that has anxiety and mental and anxiety. That was really saying, Janelle, you're really testing my limits and I want to clap back. But as someone that deals with who have friendly ties with house guests and want to defend them, what is the best advice for people?
I'll be honest, that's something that I'm trying to get better at as well, because, being in I actually remember it was when, I was talking with Nicole Franzel of all people, when I'd gone on her podcast, and she had given me some advice that I am trying my hardest to follow, but I can't because it's so hard. She was saying that a lot of alumni, when they watch the show back, because, they get on Twitter and they get involved in the conversations and they start kind of like getting into this whole mom mentality really of, the favorites and the people that people hate. And it's it is kind of like a group think kind of thing. I mean, of course, I like to think that I know how to form my own opinions about people. And sometimes whenever I watch the show, there's a lot of people that really test me. But something that Nicole said was, she never takes part in bashing the contestants while they're on TV. Like, she's not ever on her keyboard bashing people, because then whenever they get out of the house, they see that. And coming from an alumni, like it's kind of it's a little bit harsher than maybe like just a regular person on Twitter or a troll on Twitter. Like, it hurts a little bit more because it's like, wow, that's someone who is like in the same CBS family as me, talking bad about me. So before the season started, I was like, I really need to take Nicole Franzel's advice and be that person who's always saying something positive about the house guests while they're in the house and not take part in the whole, Twitter drama, everything. But it's been tough because and also I have a sense of humor with like memes and stuff like that. So like when Nicole was in the house, like I was making funny memes about like her bad reads. Like I had one meme where it was like me in the airplane cockpit on one side of the photo.
I saw that.
The banner, and I was like, Nicole, what the fuck? And then there was another, like, Nicole, what did you do? And then another one that it was a viral TikTok trend, a video that I did, basically like saying it was a song that says "I am lost." And I didn't mean it in any sort of way to be rude to Nicole or anything. It was just my sense of humor and kind of piggybacking off of other things. But what I realized was that people, even though it's meant on my side out of good humor and fun, it does open the opportunity for people to then talk bad about that person. Because I might have all the best intentions in the world, and I'm just trying to make people laugh. But then the people that respond are like, oh, you're right. She's so dumb. She's the worst player ever. And it's hard because I don't want to encourage that type of behavior among the Twitter community. But then at the same time, I want to post the funny stuff. But then the responses that it gets, it's like, it's tough. It's tough kind of riding that line. But the other thing is like, I mean, Nicole did mess up Janelle's game. She did.
She did.
But at the same time, you also have to realize that Nicole does not have access to the live feeds in the house. So she doesn't know people's intentions. And it's crazy because that was actually something that me and Jessica during our season kind of struggled with Nicole of all people, because you can even go back and look, for whatever reason, me and Jessica did not trust Nicole, and Nicole like had our backs the whole time. And for whatever reason, me and Jessica would always go up and be like, we just don't trust her. Like, we don't know what it is, but we don't trust her. And we looked like idiots, but it's because we don't have access to the live feed. So when you don't know people's intentions, you don't know what their big gameplay scheme is. And I think that Nicole was kind of a casualty of that in a way. Like she just overthought. She didn't know Janelle and Kathryn's intentions. She thought they were conspiring against her. And then she did what, oh, there's B. Anyways, sorry, AD. She did what was necessary to survive her personal game. And that included ruining the game of Janelle and Kaser. It's unfortunate as Janelle and Kaser fans, but at the same time, it's Nicole's game. And as a game player, you don't take into consideration other people's games because you're winning the $500,000 for yourself. She would have definitely gone farther had she chosen to trust them and partner with them, and then our favorites would have thrived. But at the same time, Twitter can't realistically jump down Nicole's throat about all this when she, A, didn't have access to the live feed, so she doesn't have the same big picture that we do. And then B, she's just trying to win her own game. And she was playing scrappy, and we weren't used to seeing that scrappy Nicole. But, I mean, it's all a game, so it's unfortunate. I have a theory about Nicole, too. I feel like I might over-talk it. Now I'm, like, on a tangent.
Oh, go ahead. You are doing an incredible job, Kat.
But I feel really passionate about Nicole's gameplay for whatever reason, because I was watching on the live feeds all last week. But I do have a theory about Nicole and why she, I guess, came across the way that she did this year to the audience. One thing that people have to realize is everyone always wants to root for the underdog. It's human nature. And even now, there's a lot of people, like, even you just said it. You were like, oh, I wish that you were on an all-star season, or I wish that you were on whatever. Had I actually been on an all-star season, no one would have said that. But I've heard it so much since the season started. And it's because people root for the, in that case, it's like, it's not on. People are like, oh, you should be on. If I was on, people would be on Twitter and being like, you suck. Why is she on? She doesn't deserve to be there. Like, people are always kind of going against the, I guess that would be like an underdog scenario. Like, it's just kind of human nature. So there's like that whole, so that mentality. Then you got Nicole, who was the fan favorite last year. She came in with such a high reputation. Dealing with people like that who like to root for the underdog, and they like to root for the person that is, I guess, trying, and the person that is, the underdog. It's a hard niche of people to keep happy. There's that saying that it's like, what is it? It's like, it's something about like living long enough or die. Like, if you die young, you die a hero, or live long enough to see
yourself. Long enough, you become the villain.
Yes. And that was truly a case with Nicole. She had such a shining reputation, and she was the underdog last year. Everyone was rooting for her. Now that she was coming in with this huge reputation, she was fan favorite. She had so much pressure that whether she realized it or not, and it's just hard to hard to live up to that. And then at the same time, Nicole got zero hate last year, zero hate. I would be shocked if she's ever had a negative Twitter comment or Instagram comment in her life, because she played such a wholesome game last year, and she was so loved by America. And I think that sometimes when you go through that, kind of what I said at the beginning of this was, when you go through that whole criticism, you really learn a lot about yourself as a person, and you learn the things that you can and can't say on the live feeds. So for me, for instance, if I were to go back in the house, I feel like I got enough criticism that I would be keeping my mouth shut on so many things. I wouldn't be talking shit about anybody. I would be on my best behavior because I know what it's like to come out of the house and receive that hate. Nicole's never had that. And I love that. She's lucky that she's never had that. But I think that she didn't really know, and I don't know if I don't know if I'm articulating this correctly, but I don't know if she really had the pressure of watching what she said on the live feeds this year, because she's never had to deal with backlash of people not agreeing with what she says. So this year, it's like I haven't talked to her that much, but I'm sure it's a lot. I'm sure it's a hard pill to swallow, being used to coming out and America loves you and it's all sorts of, positive remarks. Everyone is raving about your gameplay to now I haven't seen a positive remark about her in a long time. And that sucks being her friend. Of course she has her diehard fans, which, bless them. Cause I think that that's going to be really important for her to, keep close. But, this is the first time she's really ever had to be accountable. Well, it's not like the first time she's ever been held accountable by the fan base for things that she said and gameplay that she's done, because last year she could do no wrong. But again, it's that whole mentality of people like to root for the underdog and then live long. The whole die a villain, live long as a hero, or whatever it was. The whole saying. What is that quote again?
The villain. If you live long enough, you'll become the villain.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. So I bless Nicole, but I do have a podcast coming out with her because I'm doing exit interviews with the evicted houseguests. But I didn't want to harp on like her gameplay and all that. It's really just us talking about her anxiety in the Big Brother house and mental health, the whole mindset that she had going into the house. Because I think that it's actually really, it's a really fascinating take on it, because the house does crazy stuff to you.
It does. And here's the thing. Nicole Anthony is always welcome on the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast. And I really hope she stays active with the Big Brother community.
Oh, I hope so too. I hope that she realizes, that's the other thing, is getting criticism from the fan base it's not the end of the world. She didn't say anything racist. She didn't say anything sexist. She did not say anything that realistically poorly reflects her character. I know there's a lot of people that are like saying how like, oh, like she's, like people say all sorts of stuff. All of the criticism that she's receiving is based on gameplay. She's a good person. She might have acted like a total frantic mess at times, but she is a good person. And I think that, people are going to see that because she can't be anyone else but herself. So she'll rise above it and she'll be fine. But since this is the first time that she's having to deal with backlash from fans, I just hope that she takes it. I hope she takes it in stride and learns to better herself of it. Because, personally, speaking from personal experience, all of the negative criticism that I got from fans only helps me become better. So I'm hoping that she can kind of use that same mentality.
We grow and we move on.
We do, yeah. And we move on, but she'll still it'll be 5 years down the road and she'll still be getting people on Twitter being like, why did you ruin JSAR's game?
It's just a game, people.
It is. And but then at the same time though, it is, okay, so it is just a game. Yes. But at the same time, those live feeds suck you in, man. And you don't realize that it's just a game when you're watching. Because even me, I was getting so mad watching her. And I was like, hold on. This is just But so we all kind of got to check everyone involved needs to check themselves. She needs to realize the mistakes that she made, but at the end of the day, it's, gameplay. But still, I think, there's obviously right now, Twitter has a demand for answers from her for whatever reason. And I think she could either choose to shy away from that or she could choose to address it head on, which recently I'm sure you saw this on her social media.
Yes, she posted that on Twitter and Instagram. For those of you who don't know, Nicole went on last night, I believe. She said, okay, guys, I am open book. I'm ready to explain myself. If I'm ready to hear your comments. I have my big girl pants on. And I commend her that because I know that Andy Heron slid in that chat and said commend her, and Roxer called it brave on her thing as well. So that you don't get a lot of house guests that are able to say, all righty, let me explain myself.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And so I think that's really great because Nicole could have easily left the house. And also one thing to be clear, she is someone who, before she went on the show last year, she had no social media. She barely used her phone. She just is not, she's such a family girl. She's just not that into technology. Then the show really changed her life. They gave her the social media platform. They gave her, her whole podcast opportunity, everything. But she didn't grow up with that whole like in the limelight thing. So for her to really open herself up and say like, hey guys, like send me your questions, I'm here. I think that's really brave of her. And I know that that's out of her comfort zone. But at the same time, she could have easily left the show, heard the backlash from fans, and been like, oh, screw this. Like, I'm going back. I'm deleting my social media because I went 25 years without it. I'm going back to just, doing my thing that I did before Big Brother. Like, she could have easily done that. But she has a huge love for the Big Brother community, and you can see that in her Hello Friends podcast and on her social media. So she'll be fine. She just has to get through this hump.
All righty. Now, I want to get back to your podcast because one of my favorites was Ring Ring, what is this telephone doing in the DR? And that was perfectly executed. I want to commend you on that because you had almost a dozen or maybe 16 house alumni in one by one. I want to talk about how were you able to execute all that?
Well, that day. And also, I record all my podcasts over at Steve's because I've been in the process of moving and I haven't gotten my podcast equipment yet. So I was posted up at his place for like probably 8 hours that day. I thought it was going to take, like I had allotted probably like, I was like, oh, it's going to take like an hour and a half to record this, like 3 minutes tops, I'll call these people, whatever. What I didn't realize is that I got friends like Elena and Jess that love to talk. But I recorded for so long that day. There's so much good information, and I wanted to. The whole point of that podcast was, with it being an all-star season, I feel like alumni is kind of at the forefront more than ever because we all know these house guests in the house. People want to hear our expert opinions. So yeah, I texted everybody, all the Big Brother numbers that I have on my phone. And I was like, hey, I'm recording this podcast. It'll take like 3 to 5 minutes of your time. Just have a couple questions about who you're rooting for, what you think of the season, whatnot. And like, is it okay if I call you between this hour and this hour? And then, of course, keep in mind that I thought it was only going to go for like an hour and a half and it went way longer. So some of the people I didn't even get to, by the time I got to them, they were busy. But I wanted to get like a good, well-rounded, if you will, as to the best of my ability of what the general consensus was. And I think that I did a great job of that. Of course, a lot of the people that I called were from season 21 because I have all their numbers. But I also got to get a lot of really cool insight from, Paulie Calafiore and his brothers in the house. Also, I really liked, I love McCray. I'm obsessed with McCray. So I also got to get his insight about the season. And then also, Kevin from BB19. And then also James Hewling, he actually said on his podcast that he was set to be on the season, and then because of his job, he had just been promoted to deputy. He wasn't able to be on the season, so I was like, oh, T. And then also James Ryan, he's a BB legend. There were so many names that I don't know. I'm really I was really impressed with myself for pulling that off, and it was a really interesting episode.
All right, so we have a couple more questions before we have to say goodbye. So one of my favorite questions is because you are a big part on social media, what are some of your favorite social media platforms? It could be Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and why do they stand out?
Oh, I'm obsessed with Instagram. Obsessed. Like literally could scroll so I say a lot of the time that I'm sure people are annoyed with me for always saying this, but I didn't have a TV before going on Big Brother. I have a TV now, which I actually only watch the live feeds on. I don't watch anything else. But the reason why that is because I spend so much time scrolling through social media that I don't have time to get invested in like a TV show. So like when other people like, I guess, I don't know, like do you watch TV every day? Like, is that like a thing? Like, do
For
people
me,
every day?
For me, I watch the news, and then this summer is one of my favorite shows, America's Got Talent. So I've been recapping it for my blog, jakesake.com as well. So I've had some of the alumni. So I do watch some TV, but not a lot.
Yeah. So so the time that most people, I guess, spend watching TV, I spend scrolling through social media. Like, you know how you can like see the time on your apps, like how long you spend?
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's okay. I'm embarrassed to even say this. I probably spend like 8 hours a day on Instagram. It's really, yeah, it's embarrassing, but it's gotten better. Actually, my Instagram game has kind of declined since Big Brother started because I've been mostly on Twitter, but I'm obsessed. And actually, so super interesting fact, by the way. So when I was in Big Brother, they do a whole bunch of like psychological tests on you before you go in the house to kind of like get into your brain. And I tested super high for having a photographic memory.
Wow.
I had no idea I had a photographic memory at all. No idea. I wish I would have known back when I was like in high school and college, because that would have definitely helped my my studying skills if I had like known that and honed in on it. But I don't think that I think that my mind and that part of my mind with the photographic memory part has been so sharpened because I spend all my time on Instagram. Like I can literally recall like a photo that like a certain influencer posted like 2 years ago, like what month they posted it. I think I'm sick, but whatever.
But that's incredible. But that is incredible talent.
But is it like, what is it like? What does that do? Like, I mean, it's like a cool party trick, but it's like, that's not going to help me. but it's kind of funny, but yeah. So yeah, Instagram all day, but also since Big Brother started, I love keeping up on BB Twitter. Like Twitter is such a fun community whenever you have like a niche that you're like following. I wasn't really on Twitter for a while because it gets so political, or, you know, it's like kind of like whatever. When you have a niche like BB Twitter, like look up the BB22 hashtag and it is popping. It is so much fun. So I don't know. I like all social media really.
I agree completely on you. So I have 2 last questions I got to ask you. So if you had the opportunity to meet with fans who want to compete on the 2021 Big Brother edition, what advice would you share with them?
I'm sorry, wait, what was the question again?
If you had the opportunity to interact with fans who want to compete on the 2021 edition of Big Brother, what advice would you share?
Gosh. Well, so I feel like, so I'm pretty open about the fact that I was a recruit going onto the show. And so I will say I do get a lot of backlash for that, oddly enough, because I'm so open about it. I'm like, okay, like whatever, like I was recruited, whatever. But I live and breathe everything that I do. So even when I was recruited, I did enough research to know that people hate recruits on the show, and that they want to see the fans of the show. They wanted to see super fans compete, and that's what, as a fan yourself, like you know how it is. So before going on the show, I did as much research as I could to learn as much as I could about the show in that little amount of time. I had about 3 months. I watched all of season 21. I mean, not 21. I watched all season 20, season 19, some of season 16. But I also did a lot of research about, with the BB Wikipedia site. I
love that. I love that site.
Well, so that's my biggest piece of advice to anyone going on. Go on. Okay, so first of all, watch as much Big Brother as you can, but then also start Googling the best Big Brother players of all time, and then look up their BB Wikipedia pages and literally like memorize their gameplay. Like even if it's just facts about them, just like kind of like immerse yourself in that world, but then also look up the worst players of Big Brother and then look up their BB Wikipedia pages. And then also like look up like the interesting facts, like just like immerse yourself in that whole world and culture and like that mindset. Because it's like, even as much as I learned before going on the show last year, which honestly, I feel I'm proud of the work that I did before going on, and the research that I did, because as a recruit, I was pretty knowledgeable about the game. I mean, I had an idea of what I was doing, but man, like what I wouldn't give to go back now, because I know even more, because ever since getting off the show, I started off before I went on the show was scouring the BB Wikipedia sites, looking up YouTube clips of the best moves, the worst moves, the best players, worst players. But then my other piece of advice, which I'm not sure if this is even, I mean, like realistically, I know that I was in this position because of my alumni status, But I learned so much from interviewing with previous house guests about their gameplay that it's like I wish that I would have known all this before going in the house. So, I mean, maybe if somebody that's interested in going on the show is in that position that they can reach out to a house guest and get their advice, then by all means do it. But I also know that that's probably impossible because the house guests are pretty busy and it is hard to get a hold of people that you don't know. But with that same mindset, look up interviews that they've done. I mean, for instance, like plug, they can go up to my YouTube channel and see, the Instagram lives that they did. But also there's so many podcasts out there interviewing former house guests. If someone's interested in going on the show, they need to do research beyond watching the show and actually get into the minds of these players. Because I think that that's really where you learn a lot of the information that will take you far in the game. Because it's more than just what shows on the televised show. Like, you have to really get into the mind of these former players. And maybe maybe the person that wants to go on the show, maybe they don't want to play a game like say that they don't want to play a floater game. They should still research the best floater games. So if they find themselves in that scenario, then they know what to do. Because that's actually probably the best thing that I did before going on the show was I was researching Tyler Crispin's game because I thought I was going to come in and be Tyler Crispin. Like I was like, I'm the puppet master. Like I got this. But it wasn't until one of my good friends who's a super fan, she was like, no, you need to read, if you're watching season 20, like I know you like Tyler Crispin and all, but you need to research JC's game because JC played a great floater game. And I was like, I'm not a floater. Like, I'm not going to do that. Like, what? But I'm so glad that I did because then when I got in the house and I found myself in the position that I was in, I had to abandon everything that I learned about Tyler's game. And I had to really hone in on JC's game because I played more of a floater game, floating from the power of, each side of the house. So that's why it's important to, if you're interested in going on the show, like, literally just immerse yourself in Big Brother, live and breathe it to the point where it becomes like craziness. It becomes a sickness. And yeah, I mean, it's definitely a lifestyle. Big Brother is a lifestyle.
I totally agree. Now, where can my audience find you, Kathryn?
I'm around. You can find me on the BB Twitter streets. Find me on so I guess if your audience is wanting to talk Big Brother, then follow me on Twitter because I'm all about the BB22 hashtag right now. My Twitter handle is @it's Kathryn Dunn, tches Kathryn. Also follow me on Instagram at Kat Dunn, but also listen to my new podcast, which is Conspire Away B with Kat Dunn, and that's available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
Awesome. And I'm so happy that I got to hear with your podcast. It's a really good podcast, guys. You guys got to listen to it. Now, if you want to download episodes of the Jake Sick with Jacob Elyachar podcast, head to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Spreaker. We've had an incredible year so far. In addition to Kat, we've also got a lot of America's Got Talent alums. We've had the one and only Rachel Riley. We also had Dr. Rochelle Ross from Big Brother 11 as well. So all you got to do is type in Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar Podcast. And also, please subscribe to my social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, Jacob Elyachar, JACOB ELYACHAR. Once again, Jacob Elyachar, JACOB ELYACHAR. Now, for more, including my interviews with past house guests such as Dan Giesling and Morgan Willett and Jesse Godders, head over to jakestake.com. Once again, jakes-take.com for more articles, interviews, and reviews. Kathryn, thank you so much for your time. You are incredible, and I'm so happy for all of your success. And thank you so much for entertaining us.
Oh, it was so much fun. And I have to say before I go, your intros and outros are top notch. I am inspired to implement that level of professionalism in my intros and outros. So if you catch me talking like you, I definitely used you as my inspo.
Thank you so much. It means a lot to me coming from you. So guys, thank you so much for your time and have a fantastic day. And I will see you next time on the next edition of the Jake's Take with Jacob Elyachar podcast.